The audio is way off. I hate even starting broadcasts like this. It's probably time for a full reformat of my PC. That's what's doing it. I literally have to restart hardware. I did. I even checked the intro to make sure it wasn't going to be quiet, and yet it was. So probably spending half the day tomorrow pissed off and reformatting my entire computer, putting a new copy of Windows on it, moving around files, and not discussing the news. Extremely angry that just happened, folks. I really want to apologize out of the gates. However, we are going to be talking about John Brennan. John Brennan gets a little angrier than Jason Bermas. Now, for those that don't know who John Brennan is, he is the former head of the Central Intelligence Agency and what I like to refer to as a spook du jour, okay? Somebody who, by every account, if we actually had a system of high-level criminal accountability, which we do not, let me repeat that, which we do not, okay? If we had that, he would be in prison. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there on the hopium trains that, this administration's going to take down the deep state again, that these indictments are real, and that Comey's going to jail, and Bolton's going to jail, and Brennan's going to jail. Yeah? You think so? Hey, where are all those 9/11 documents that we were promised prior to the second Trump administration? There hasn't been a whisper. There hasn't been not even a faint whisper of us getting those documents. We've all seen the Epstein fiasco, but the Russiagate thing is so in our damn face. It's so in our damn face. The idea that no one's going to prison for that hoax should let you guys know all you need to know. That at the end of the day, there will be no criminal accountability for those that are intricately involved in our intelligence networks, in our Defense Department, in our national security apparatus, and yes, in what is known as the quote-unquote deep state. All right? Now, that doesn't mean that the clip that we're going to play today, and we're going to play a few clips, but the main clip here of John Brennan being questioned about his Russiagate letter isn't fun to watch. And it's fun to watch because you see a physical meltdown of John Brennan, but you also see how he's able to use his legalese speak, total semantics, to try to obfuscate what he and others did. And what they did is they created a totally and completely false narrative surrounding Trump and the Russians. All right, and they did that a multitude of ways, and they did it with malice. They did it with malice the first time around, okay? And then in the second Trump administration. See, we've got to be intellectually honest here. There are some people out there that just think that everything's fake, everything's not real, all of it's a song and dance, everybody's working together. But no, there are factions. Okay, I'm not telling you not to be skeptical, but there are clearly factions. So we'll probably watch this video quite a few times over and over and over again because it's very short. Perhaps my favorite part of the video, you see the gentleman in the backpack right there? But my favorite part of the video is the guy's drinking a Stella Artois as he confronts Brennan, and Brennan just gets super, super uncomfortable, all right? The kind of discomfort that does make Jason Bermas smile. When establishment weasels like this guy all right, that don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or American citizens in jail. They don't. Sorry. No. That guy, he likes power. All right? He likes to be in control. He's, a bootlicker on many levels. And that's how you ascend to the head of an agency like that. But in order to do that, to be that kind of a bootlicker, you also have to be ruthless. Ruthless in your policy. All right? Especially when that policy involves things like arms deals, black operations, blackmail, real influence operations, drone the list goes on. American surveillance, track trace database, illegal everything under the sun, including, by the way, geoengineering, which we'll get into. Brennan, big fan of the geoengineering and lecturing us all on our carbon footprint. That should let you know how great of a guy John Brennan is. Okay? Just one of those things that's just completely and totally overwhelming and always makes me take a step back. All right? These are the people in power. So we're going to get to the video in a moment. Before we get there, I can't do it without you. You guys are my support system. $5, $10, $15. It does mean the world to me. Big donors, thank you. There's also a PayPal link down below. I want to thank Marigold Resources, marigoldresources.com. If you're buying or selling a business, give my man McGreevy a call. He'll check it out for you. He also has an independent media operation called the River City Reader, rcreader.com. Check that out. And give me a follow over on X. We were requesting some X followers today. Did a video earlier. We've lost 2 since then. You see that? You see how that works? I have an audience of tens of thousands of people, probably over 100,000 if you actually look at the combined X account. We're streaming on X. The Rumble account, 20,000 there. On YouTube, we'll hit 75,000 soon. We lost 2 followers today. We barely gained any subscribers on YouTube. So listen, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, ring the bell. We've got to kick, claw, scratch, and scream for every single follower. So the individual here, Thomas A. Especial, the second, he is a national security consultant. And a few days ago, there must have been this conference. He says, after the conference Thursday, I confronted former CIA Director Brennan directly regarding his signing of the 51 intelligence officers memo, knowing that the Hunter Biden laptop was real and not Russian disinformation. Watch his response. And his response is a childlike temper tantrum where he tries to use semantics to weasel out of the influence operation, the black operation that he was a knowing participant in, a criminal participant in my opinion. So here you go.
Why on the Hunter Biden? Why sign it?
He says, why sign that? Why sign that memo on the Hunter Biden laptop? And look at this guy's face. Brennan mad.
Because I think, and you misrepresented that. We never said it was disinformation. We said it was Russian influence operations, which is what they do. There's a big difference between...
Can you imagine that guy poking you? Now, some people would be intimidated by that because he's the ex-head of the CIA. That's a weak and pathetic man poking away.
Influence operations is a big difference. No, you don't know that. Yes, Comey knew. Comey knew.
The literature says it had all marks.
And he walks away. And there's a little smile. Let's watch it again. Okay, let's watch. Because I said we watched it a couple times. Guy's enjoying a nice little Stella. Probably you talk about the most interesting man in the world. This guy's pretty interesting that he confronts Brennan. And Brennan throws a temper tantrum.
Why on the Hunter Biden? Why sign it? Because I think, And you misrepresented that. We never said it was disinformation. We said it was Russian influence operations, which is what they do. There's a big difference between influence operations. No, you don't know that.
Yes,
you don't know. Comey knew.
The literature said it had all
They all knew. They all knew. Every one of them knew. Everyone, like super, just in your face, poke. I'd be like, you better get that finger away from me, buddy. I get it, Buster Brown. You can make my days very hard. You got a lot more power than Jason Bermas. He's pathetic. He's pathetic. Now, I want to show you. Now, first of all, this guy has chimed in. The guy that confronted Brennan. He hopes that a federal probe can help restore Americans' trust in fair elections. Hey, buddy, don't count on it. We just had an election today. I'm not saying everything was on the up and up, but I'm sorry, I have a extremely difficult time trusting our election system, especially the past 20 plus years, the further and further that we have continually digitized it, put it into private hands with proprietary software with no way of a real audit. And when you try to audit these things, when they not only do they come after you in a sense of trying to ruin you, discredit you, etc., they criminally come after you if you're too dangerous to the system. They'll sue you into the ground, they'll use lawfare, but then they'll also try to put you in prison for trying to audit an election to see what the fair results were. That is this country. It's not a third world country. It is happening here. All right? Unbelievably dangerous and something that seems to be the norm. And by the way, there has been no real retribution on the 2020 elections. And even if there is criminal retribution after the fact, which I don't think we're going to get to, okay? And I'm going to play a short clip about that as well. I don't think we're going to get the criminal retribution that we should. It doesn't change the election. You can't go back in time. These people damn well know that even when they steal an election, when an election is stolen by the powers that should not be, the litigation process takes so long that you're actually talking about a full term of the person who already got elected in office. Now, that's why when there was all these fantasies out there, all right, there's fantasies, like full-on QAnon nonsense, white hat, full-throttle hallucinatory fantasies that the white hats were going to come in, right? Remember, after Biden, even before Biden was sworn in, there was a lot of Johnny Nonsense talk. Then there was Johnny Nonsense talk about a date in March. And then everybody started talking about the USA being a corporation. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Just stuff that was not in a basis of reality that was going to get your election back. And then you even had this idea, way post-launch of the Biden administration, that the Supreme Court was going to look at the Brunson case. Now, I'm not saying that the Brunson case was not valid and should not have been looked into and should have absolutely 100% looked at the elections and how they were conducted in 2020. But if you actually thought that not only the Supreme Court was actually going to hear that case, which they didn't, and I kept telling people, they're not going to hear it, okay? But had they heard it, if you thought there was going to be a positive outcome there, I had lunatics telling me that the Brunson case was going to go through, the Supreme Court was going to rule, and then all these people were going to be usurped from their positions in Congress and the Senate and the executive. Not real. Not real. So what we need is a system where we can actually criminally prosecute people like Brennan that have conducted themselves in literal treasonous operations against the American public and the executive branch. I don't know how we do it, but we need to do it if we're ever going to get this system under some kind of control. And I'm not holding my breath, unfortunately. Now, one of the other things that Brennan is involved in here, and I think we'll save the geoengineering stuff for the end, but I want to play, especially since we're talking about influence operations and Russia, a portion, and there's about 20 or so minutes of this thing. This is condensed down to, I think, about 6.5 minutes of Seymour Hersh secretly being recorded talking about Seth Rich in regards to the Russiagate hoax, okay? And actually talking about at one point, and there's a warning, there's a lot of cursing here, talking about at one point that this is a Brennan operation. So it's not just the letter in the second administration with the Russia hoax and the Hunter Biden laptop. All right, it's all the way back in the first administration. So let's play a little Seymour Hersh.
About the kid, and I'll tell you what I know. What I know comes off an FBI report. Don't ask me how you can figure out. I've been around long enough. The kid gets, I don't think he was murdered. I don't think he was murdered because of what he knew. The kid's a nice boy, 27. He was not an IT expert, but he learned stuff. He was a data programmer, but he learned stuff. And so he's living on one street somewhere. He's living in a very rough neighborhood. And in the exact area where he'd been, there've been about 10, I'm sure you know all this, there've been about 8 or 9 or 10 violent, robberies, most of them with somebody brandishing a gun. And the kid's hands, I'm telling you, I'm sure you know, his hands were marked up. The cops concluded he fought off the people, tried to run, and he shot him twice in the back with a .22, small caliber. And then the kids that did it ran. They got scared, didn't take his wallet. Okay, so what the cops do then, and here's what nobody knows, what I'm telling you. Now, maybe you know something about it. When you have a death like that, DC cops, if you're dead, you generally don't just go, you have to find out what's going on. You have to get to the kid's apartment and see what you can find. If he's dead, you don't need a warrant, but most cops get a warrant because they don't know if the guy has a roommate. You need a warrant. So they get a warrant. I'm just telling you, there is such a thing. They go in the house and they can't do much with his computer. It's password. The cops don't know much about it. So the DC cops, they have a cyber unit in DC, and they're more sophisticated. They come and look at it. The idea is maybe he's had a series of exchanges with somebody who says, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker, over a girl, and they can't get in. The cyber guys do a little better, but they can't make sense of it. So they call the FBI cyber unit. The DC unit, the Washington field office, is a hot shit unit. The guy running the Washington field office, he's like a 3-star at an army base. He's already looking for 4. You know what I mean? He's going to go with a top job. There's a cyber unit there that's excellent. What you get in a warrant, the public information you get in a warrant doesn't include, it does not include the affidavit underlying why you're going in, what the reasons are. That's almost never available on. I can tell you that. The existence of a warrant is a public document 99% of the time. So on the same warrant, they call in the Fed. The Feds get through, and here's what they find. This is according to the FBI report. What they find is he makes first of all, you have to know some basic facts. One of the basic facts is there's no DNC or Podesta email that exists beyond May 21st, 22nd. It's the last email for either one of those groups. And so what the report says that sometime in late spring, we're talking about June, summer's in June 21st. Late spring would be after, I presume, I don't know. I just say it says late spring, early summer. He makes contact with WikiLeaks. That's in his computer, and he makes contact. Now, I have to be careful because I met Julian in Europe, 10, 12 years. I stay the fuck away from people like that. And he's invited me, and when I'm in London, I always get a message, come see me as the Ecuadorian ambassador, and there's no fuck you, I'm going there.
So let's just go over what we're learning right now. when we're talking about the DNC leaks, remember the establishment is still telling us Russia, Russia, Russia. The Trump administration is in the executive. Why have they not released the Seth Rich files? Seriously. Why have they not released the warrant he's talking about and then this FBI document that he talks about? What's going on here? How much power does the executive really have over these intel agencies, these bureaucracies, these things that are outside of the system that are committing criminal acts and then lying to the American public and then using those lies to not only defame a sitting president, but then try to impeach a sitting president?
Trouble without getting photographed by every fucking aide. He's under total surveillance by everybody. But anyway, they found what he had done. He had submitted a series of documents, of emails, some juicy emails from the DNC. And, by the way, all this shit about the DNC, whether hacked or wasn't hacked, but whatever happened, the Democrats themselves wrote this shit. You know what I mean? All I know is that.
So basically, he's making the point that few people made, but I made many times over. I said, no, I don't think the Russians hacked this. This is a download. This doesn't seem to be a hack at all. This seems to be somebody that plugged in a USB stick and that's not a hack. All right. But even if it was a hack, and even if it was Russia, which none of the evidence shows, by the way, their GRU paper is a joke. The Mueller report is a joke. It's a bad joke. Okay? They wrote these things. They did these things. These emails are real. Chris Cuomo went on CNN and told you that you were not allowed to read them. Insanity.
He offered a sample, an extensive sample, I'm sure dozens of emails, and said, I want money. That later, WikiLeaks did get the password. He had a Dropbox, a protected Dropbox, which isn't hard to do. I mean, you don't have to be a wizard, IT wizard. He was certainly, he's not a dumb kid. They got access to the Dropbox. He also, and this is also in the FBI report, he also let people know with whom he was dealing. And I don't know how he dealt. I'll tell you about WikiLeaks in a second. I don't know how he dealt with the WikiLeaks and the mechanism, but he also, the word was passed according to the FBI report. I also shared this box with a couple of friends. So if anything happens to me, it's not going to solve your problem. Okay? I don't know what that means. I don't know whether he was, anyway. But WikiLeaks got access, and before he was killed, I can tell you right now, Brennan's an asshole. I've known all these people for years. Clapper's sort of a better guy, but now rocket scientist. The NSA guy is a fucking moron. And the trouble with all those guys is that the only way they're going to make it to a board or two and get hired by SAIC to deliver some fat cat contracts is if Hillary stayed in. With Trump, they're gone. They're done. They're going to live on their pension. They're not going to make it. And I got to tell you, guys in that job, they don't want to live on their pension. They want to be on boards like they're make $600,000 for going to 4 visits. I have somebody, and
so again, he's naming Brennan as part of this. He's talking about Clapper. He actually calls Clapper a better guy than Brennan. Don't necessarily agree there. Both pretty terrible people. Okay, but now he's going to talk about access to this FBI document that has never been made public about the Seth Rich murder, that in court, in civil court, it came out that his FBI guy, who supposedly got him this documentation, was Andrew McCabe, the deputy director of the FBI. Kind of a big deal. And none of these stories are discussed in the mainstream whatsoever.
inside. I've been around a long time and I write a lot of stuff. I have somebody inside who will go and read a file for me. This person is unbelievably accurate and careful. He's a very high-level guy. He'll do a favor. You're just going to have to trust me. I have what they call it in my business, long-form journalism. I have a narrative of how that whole fucking thing began. It's a Brennan operation. It was an American disinformation and fucking...
A Brennan operation. So again, not just the Hunter Biden laptop, the 2020 election. No. 2016 DNC emails, WikiLeaks, Russiagate, Brennan operation. You won't like Brennan when he's angry. Let's roll it back just a couple. Just roll it right back.
You have to trust me. I have what they call it in my business, long-form journalism. I have a narrative of how that whole fucking thing began. It's a Brennan operation. It was an American disinformation, and the fucking president, at one point when they even started telling the press, they were back briefing the press. The head of the NSA was going and telling the press, this fucking cocksucker Rogers, was telling the press that we even know who in the GRU, the Russian military intelligence service, leaked it. I mean, all bullshit. They were telling these I worked at the New York Times for fucking years, and the trouble with the fucking New York Times is they have smart guys, but they're totally beholden on sources. If the president or the head of the CIA tells them something, they actually believe it. I was hired at the Times to write about it, to go after the war, in the Vietnam War in '72, because they were just locked in. So that's what the Times is. These guys run the fucking Times. And Trump's not wrong. I mean, I wish he would calm down and had a better press secretary. You have to be so... Trump's not wrong to think they all fucking lied about him.
He's not wrong to think that they all lied about him. At all. Well, how about that? How about that? So I want to play this clip of Brennan talking about another operation that is a global operation, okay? And it is the geoengineering program going on in this country and beyond. And here he is at the CFR talking about these aerosol stratospheric injections. Brennan, not a good guy, folks.
From having significantly larger proportions of retired people and older people relative to working age citizens. Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations.
How about this nation? How about you're not just talking about nations, you're talking about regions within the United States globally? How about this black operation is utterly and completely abhorrent and needs to be stopped? John Brennan, not a great guy, folks. That is going to wrap it up for this edition. I do want to remind everybody, I need your support if you enjoyed this broadcast. Again, are you seeing this news anywhere else? $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Big donors, thank you for keeping me afloat via the Buy Me a Coffee. There's also the PayPal link down below. Give me a follow on X at Jason Bermas. Like I said, I ask for the follows, and we just lose followers. So I've got to do it. I've got to try. Again, we claw, we scratch, we fight for every single subscriber and follower because we've got to challenge the great narrative daily, because the narrative that they're selling us is a false one. Folks, it is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.